Yeah, over to you, Kenna. Let's go.
Yes. Namaste, everyone, and greetings of the day. The Republic of India welcomes participants from Brics countries to the two-day summit on green hydrogen initiatives being organized by NTPC on 22nd and 23rd of June 2021. Honorable heads of Brics delegations, respected Secretary, Ministry of Power, India, Mr. Alok Kumar, Chairman and Managing Director, NTPC Limited, Mr. Gurdeep Singh, senior power professionals from Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, senior officials of Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, Ministry of Power, Bureau of Energy Efficiency, Union Territory of Ladakh, Executive Director, Renewable Energy NTPC Limited, Mr. Mohit Bhargav, colleagues and guests who have joined us on MS Teams and through YouTube for live relay of the summit. It is an honor for NTPC, in collaboration with the Ministry of Power, to host Brics delegates in the summit. The summit entails meaningful conversations and panel discussions in the course of 2 days on extremely pertinent topics related to green hydrogen initiatives. Green hydrogen can be a game changer in global efforts to decarbonize our economies. Globally, strong government commitment backed by financial support, regulation and clear strategies and targets, it has triggered momentum in the hydrogen industry. This is precisely the reason why this August platform has been created among emerging economies, which comprises of eminent Brics countries' representatives. The objective of this virtual workshop is to bring together the Brics nations to share experiences and present outlook and perspectives. Indeed, a moment of pride and honor for NTPC to host all of you. NTPC Limited, under the aegis of Ministries of Power, is India's largest power generation utility with an installed capacity of 66 gigawatt and is one of the top 10 global energy giants. NTPC has presence in the entire value chain of the power generation business and is committed to partner in the global energy transition. I now invite Chairman and Managing Director of NTPC Limited, Mr. Gurdeep Singh, to welcome the August gathering. And may I please introduce the speaker too. Mr. Singh is an engineer and has undergone management and leadership training from Harvard and Oxford Business Schools. In an illustrious career spanning more than 3.5 decades, he has held leadership positions with several national and multinational companies. He is currently the co-chair for Resource and Energy Efficiency Task Force, B20 Italy, and also the co-chair for the Stewardship Board for the Platform of Energy and Materials World Economic Forum. An accomplished business leader with expertise in building and managing businesses across the power sector value chain, Mr. Singh is leading NTPC's transformational journey into a sustainable integrated energy company. Sir.
Thank you, Kenna. Honorable Secretary Power, Government of India, all panelists and delegates connected from countries Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. A very good morning, good afternoon, good evening. As we know that somewhere it is early morning, somewhere it is afternoon, somewhere it is late evening. So truly, I think we are representing the globe. On behalf of NTPC Limited and on my personal behalf, it is pleasure and privilege to be welcoming distinguished guests from all the BRIC countries. It's a great honor to host this particular workshop on a very special theme of green hydrogen, which is probably one of the most happening and demanding fields in the current times and also touted as next carrier of energy. We are thankful to Ministry of Power, Government of India for providing NTPC this platform to organize and host this event. I am happy to note that leading experts from BRIC countries are present here today to share their insights and professional views on the subjects as well as latest developments going on in their countries in the area of green hydrogen. We all know the 5 BRIC countries share a common vision of sustainable development and inclusive economic growth, strengthening energy cooperation and ensuring affordable, reliable, accessible, and secure energy for all. has always been a strategic area of importance in the agenda of BRIC countries. The virtual conference on hydrogen is broadly from 2 of the 6 thematic areas on which these countries have agreed to cooperate, namely energy and economics. The subject of green hydrogen is of great topical interest to all the countries, including BRICS, as it presents a good technology option to ensure sustainable energy supply, increase the level of energy availability, and minimize the negative impact on the environment. For India, our transition to increasing share of renewable energy and adoption of green hydrogen technologies would bring in significant benefits. The transition to hydrogen economy will not only reduce India's import dependency on hydrocarbon fuels, but also bring self-reliance in the field of energy, reduces GHG emissions in absolute terms, and also fulfill the dream of the government, Atmanirbhar Bharat, which is self-reliant India. Indian government has already announced National Hydrogen Mission, and this would lay a roadmap for adoption of hydrogen at scale. NTPC Limited has been a key driver in India's growth story and is leading the way towards a new energy economy and is also pioneering green hydrogen initiative in India. We are undertaking extensive study and experimentations in the areas of carbon capture and hydrogen. We have also started pilot projects on the green hydrogen. One of the projects is to synthesize methanol using captured carbon dioxide and green hydrogen. So today's workshop is actually a first step towards achieving our collective goal of making our relationship with all BRICS partners much stronger while learning from each other and share experiences. We look forward to many such collaboration opportunities coming out from this esteemed forum through the innovative ideas and solutions. This will go in a long way in ensuring clean and affordable energy to masses and in turn ensure energy security to one and all. Thank you very much.
Thank you for doing the honor, sir. Just as CMD NTPC said, the 5 BRICS countries share a common vision of sustainable development and inclusive economic growth. And today's workshop is actually one step forward towards achieving goal of sharing experiences in green hydrogen and making our relationship with all the BRIC partners much stronger. It is heartening to note that overwhelming response has been received on the summit from all quarters. In just 4 days, we have received 700 plus registrations. And now may I take the opportunity to invite the Secretary Ministry of Power India, Mr. Alok Kumar, to deliver the keynote address. Mr. Kumar is an Indian Administrative Service Officer who is, as Secretary, giving shape to the Indian power sector in this transition time. He has served as State Additional Chief Secretary, Industrial Development, and IT and Electronics. He has also worked in the areas of skill development, handcraft-based micro-enterprises, apprenticeship programs, and national career services. He has been the Chief Executive Officer of various public enterprises in transport and electricity sectors. He has acquired widely recognized expertise in policy and regulatory affairs of India's electricity sector, while working for more than 7 years at national level and about 3 years at state level. He has also authored a book on policy and regulation of electricity industry in India, which was published by Oxford University Press in 2012. And he's an accomplished civil engineer and has completed MBA in France. Alok, sir.
Thank you so much, Kenna. And I must first welcome, and it's my pleasure to welcome all the heads of delegations and members of delegations who are participating in this 2-day seminar on green hydrogen. I also thank and welcome CMD NTPC for agreeing to hosting this important seminar. And it's a great pleasure to be with you this evening. As Gurdeep Singh was saying, maybe good morning also and good afternoon, because people are in different time zones. BRICS, we value our attachment and our association with BRICS cooperation. It's an important platform forum for India, and it's a multi-sectoral cooperation and energy is one of the most important areas for this cooperation. Whatever we do and we don't do, it has an impact on the whole globe. As I am informed, that Brics countries, they supply around 40% of the total energy of the world. So whatever we do collectively and what we learn will impact what is done in the whole world. Currently, the energy is the agenda of all the deliberations, conversation, negotiations. Even the national agenda for development in every country, the energy is the foundation, because energy is the foundation. It's a very basic infrastructure. It affects every household. It affects every enterprise. And when we talk of energy transition, which is the main agenda nowadays, how do we manage our transition is going to affect all the countries, all the communities, all the households, each and every human being. So we are all thinking, discussing, and deliberating how to manage energy transition. Energy transition is a need of hour. I believe every country, almost in all major economies, they have committed to themselves through their nationally determined contributions what they intend to do to manage energy transition for a better planet and how to manage climate change. When we talk of energy transition, the energy technologies, the key technologies, they have very important role to play. Whatever we have learned in the last 100 years or 200 years, our energy scenario and our energy perspective has been shaped by energy technologies. I was recently going through a very important publication by International Energy Agency, and they were talking that this decade will be very important. It will be a turning point for the whole globe, for the whole world community, as far as energy transition and climate change is concerned. In this decade, two things will happen. All of us will try our best to implement the available technologies. These are the electric vehicles, the electric mobility, which is already available, and we are going to implement it with full force. There are other technologies which are floating solar power plants, which are coming up. Many plants have been set up, we'll set up more. Then a large number of countries are now looking at offshore wind energy as a new source of clean green energy, because now land is scarce for a country like India. I mean, even for other countries like Brics members, land is an issue. So offshore wind energy is it's a very upcoming promising area, promising technology for managing energy transition in this decade. And lastly, I'll say energy efficiency is another key area which will drive the whole agenda of energy transition in a large way. As far as I know about India, whatever we will be able to do in energy transition is on two accounts: the energy efficiency in several fields like buildings, the appliances, the industries, and the larger share of renewable energy. So there are two big pillars of our what we have been able to reduce the emissions per rupee of GDP. So it has been all made possible by greater penetration of energy efficiency technologies and renewable energy integration. But this decade will have another task for us. Collectively, we have to work for development of new technologies which will be implemented after this decade. So this decade is very valuable to invest our money, our knowledge, and our collective wisdom to develop such promising technologies so that they become commercially viable and implementable by the time we reach the end of this decade. So there are three technologies which are on the horizon, but which we are not yet commercially viable. I'll say hydrogen is one which is most promising. Then another is the carbon capture and utilization. And third, in my sense, is the battery storage. If you grade them in the stage of development, I say battery storage one which is more mature, and we will start implementing it say by 2027, 2028 at a large scale in India. and it will go on progression for implementation in the next decade also. The hydrogen is one, in my assessment, is the one which will be maturing immediately after battery storage, because hydrogen technology is there with us for the last 200 years, more than 200 years, in different form we have been using it. So it is a already established ecosystem. Hydrogen is being used in production of fertilizer, in our refineries in large quantities. Only thing is to turn to, say, from gray hydrogen to green hydrogen. So it is already a ecosystem is available. Industries are familiar with hydrogen. And thirdly, I am still keeping my fingers crossed about the carbon capture and utilization. This technology is yet to be developed and implemented, and there are many issues, but we have still, say, good hope that it will also become viable and commercial in the times to come. So out of these three technologies, if we compare, before I come to the hydrogen as such, say battery storage will remain critical for power sector even if we develop hydrogen, because scientists and technologists, they tell us that the two-stage conversion of first green energy into green hydrogen and green hydrogen to again electricity, there are issues of efficiency. So battery storage will remain critical and important for power sector, I believe, even say beyond this decade, and it will grow further, because battery storage has some limitations in terms of its manufacturing capacity, availability of minerals and all, but its scope is huge because it can balance the grid. You can set up battery storage without entering into big ecosystems which is required for hydrogen, like storage, high pressure storage, or for transportation. So battery is going to stay with us, and we have to have a good blend of battery and hydrogen. Hydrogen is very critical because it is very, very important for hard to abate sectors, like industries like steel and cement, which have a high heat applications. So maybe in the times to come, hydrogen, when you turn the green hydrogen, maybe there will be technologies which will use in industries beyond fertilizers and beyond refineries. So hydrogen will overcome the issues of intermittency of renewable energy. We will have ample renewable energy in the times to come in each country of Brics, in other countries of globe, but the intermittency of renewable energy, hydrogen can handle that, because you can turn that renewable energy into hydrogen, can store it, can transport it. I'm also told that hydrogen is going to be very important for long haul transport, for heavy truck applications, because their battery storage has some limitation of the size of battery and the weight of battery. And going further, the hydrogen has important application for decentralized applications, for our remote villages, for decentralized grids, microgrids, with the help of the fuel cell. And if we have a small size, say production units for hydrogen, hydrogen can help us to have decentralized applications. So we have a spectrum of technologies, and this today's seminar on hydrogen is very topical, very relevant, and I have very high hope, high expectation that whatever we share and talk in these 2 days will help us to take hydrogen technology further viable and economic in our journey for energy transition. What India has done, India has taken a big decision to launch a very ambitious national hydrogen mission. Hydrogen mission has two components. One is the market making. As our CMD NTPC was telling, we already have a proposal for stakeholder consultation that India proposes to introduce green hydrogen purchase obligations for fertilizers and for refineries beginning right next year and increasing continuously up to 2030. So there will be demand of green hydrogen. So market will help the production of green hydrogen. And second component is involvement of private sector in a transparent and competitive manner to produce green hydrogen. So now Government of India is going to call bids that whosoever can produce green hydrogen at the most competitive rate, he will be awarded this project. And in parallel, as I have told you, we will have this green hydrogen purchase obligation. So these two things put together, and also aided by all our scientific communities and establishments who are working for all complete value chain of hydrogen, right from storage, transport, fuel cell, then components of the electrolyzers, and there are whole issues involved in the value chain. The India is looking at it, and we encourage and we invite all our say partner countries in Brics that let us come together, work together for making hydrogen viable quickly. And there is a shining example in front of us. We have been able to reduce the cost of solar power. It used to be 15 rupees per unit when I left Government of India last time in 2008 and 10. Now solar power is available in less than 2 rupees if we take out taxes and all. So around 2 rupees a unit. If market making, government intervention, and a focused program can bring the cost of solar power from 15 rupees to 2 rupees in less than 10 years, I'm very sure if we have the same zeal and same example of market making, right government intervention, policy support, incentives, and the collective work amongst the countries like BRICS countries, I'm very sure hydrogen technology will be with us in a very commercial, at a very commercial level by the time we reach 2030 or even before. So it's a very important mission for the whole globe, that how do we handle our climate change. And I wish this workshop and this seminar success from my bottom of my heart, that after the 2 days we'll be all very motivated, we'll be benefited by the experience sharing, and it will be a common and collective work. And I wish this seminar all the success. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for emphasizing the importance of green hydrogen in the power industry, sharing insights on the topic, putting across India's perspective on producing green hydrogen, and showing us the way forward. Well, the summit and the presence of honorable delegates and speakers is very precious to us. May I request all the speakers and dignitaries here to kindly take a pause and switch on their cameras for a group picture. I think this is the moment, and this really means a lot to us. This picture will go into our keepsake. May I request all the honorable delegates and speakers to kindly put on their cameras for a while so that we may take a group picture. Thank you so much. Okay, so we'll wait. Could we count down to 3? Like 3, 2, and 1. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. This goes into our keepsake and really means a lot to us. Going forward, international cooperation is vital to accelerate the growth of versatile, clean hydrogen around the world. If governments work to scale up hydrogen in a coordinated way, it can help to spur investments in factories and infrastructure that will bring down costs and enable sharing of knowledge and best practices. So moving ahead with presentation by the Brics delegates. Each presentation will be of about 20 minutes, followed by a short question and answer round of 5 minutes. I'd like to request all the participants and attendees who have joined us through YouTube or through MS Teams to put their questions in the message box of the live event or in the comment box of the YouTube. Please do that, and if you have any question for our speakers, we'll take it up here after the presentation is over. With this, we begin with the first delegate from Brazil. We have Ms. Agnes De Foster, Head of the Regulatory Advisory Office at the Brazilian Ministry of Mines and Energy, joining us as speaker today. Welcome, ma'am. Ms. Agnes De Foster is an internationally recognized energy specialist with more than 15 years experience advising ministers in energy and natural resources policy design in Brazil. She has a bachelor's degree in economics from the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro and MSc in energy from University of Sao Paulo. With an extensive list of publications and appearances as a speaker at national and international forums, debating the role and trends of the energy sector, She contributes to the understanding of the policies under development in Brazil and worldwide. She is the co-author of Simela's Sex System, if I pronounced it correctly. She's a precursor to the debate on career and leadership from the point of view of women in the energy sector in Brazil, seeking to increase the retention and sense of belonging of all its talent pool. I invite Mr. Costa to share Brazil's experience and strategy, please.
Thank you very much. I'm very pleased to be here in front of this important audience and with my colleague and panelists here. May I share my presentation? I would just put here one moment, please. Okay. One moment. So, I'm very pleased to be here talking to you about green hydrogen in Brazil. As we know, we are here amongst big countries. So Brazil is an enormous country. We are the largest economy in Latin America. We have the sixth largest population in the world, and we are the 12th largest economy in the world. When we think about the energy sector in Brazil, Brazil has a diversified energy mix, but we have several highlights in terms of energy production. So with the pre-salt discoveries, Brazil has become one of the major oil and gas producers in the world. We have a great potential for high quality onshore and offshore wind. So we still have a lot of land in Brazil. Offshore wind is still to be explored, but it's something that is already in our public policy agenda. We have uranium reserves sufficient to supply 10 gigawatts of nuclear power plants. We have the fourth largest agricultural production in the world and an enormous bioenergy potential. And this is something that's very characteristic of our culture and economy. We have excellent irradiation in the whole territory. So we have enormous potential for photovoltaic energy as well. And we are the second largest hydroelectric energy producer in the world, and still with potential for reversible plants in the power sector as well. When we look into the power sector specifically, we have a very, very clean energy mix. Compared to the world, 85% of our electricity is produced from clean sources, while the world is about 28%. And this is also a reality in our energy mix. I don't have here the number, but our energy mix, 45% also come from clean energy sources. And here we still have in the power sector predominance of hydropower plants or hydropower production. But since the year 2000s, we have working a lot to diversify power production in Brazil to other sources with energy auctions. So that's how we have enabled other power sources to be very competitive in Brazil as well. So when we talk about hydrogen, what is a reality right now is that there is no currently commercial use for hydrogen for energy purposes at the moment. We produce hydrogen mainly through 4 big companies, and Petrobras, our oil company, state-controlled oil company, is the major producer in Brazil, but only for internal use. In terms of hydrogen consumption, there is no liquefying of hydrogen in Brazil yet, but gas produced from hydrogen is transported through pressurized trucks. And the main applications for hydrogen in Brazil are in the petrochemical industry for refining of oil products, in the steel industry for tempering furnaces, in the food industry for hydrogenation for example, of margarine, in the glass industry for tempering furnaces as well, and also in thermoelectric power plants for turbine cooling.
Ma'am, excuse me, ma'am. If you could share your desktop, this presentation is not visible to us.
Oh my God, I'm sharing, but here, I'm sorry because it's for me it looks like it's. I will try again. Oh, it's a pity. One moment, please. I will try again. I was sharing and for me it looked like it was sharing. Let me try this other way. One moment, please.
Please take
this way. Now it's working.
May I get a contact the IT team, please?
Yes, because yesterday I showed them and it worked.
Yeah, it is showing. It is showing, Kena.
Yes, thank you very much. Please continue.
Sorry. So when we think about hydrogen, green hydrogen, we see a great potential for Brazil for green hydrogen production, because we have excellent favorable climate conditions for power generation through wind, solar, and hydro resources, and as well as biomass, as I already stated. And we have already a mature logistical infrastructure and also a strong economic relationship with the world. So for exports, this will be needed. And I loved what Mr. Kumar stated, that we have this ecosystem in Brazil as well for hydrogen. So for hydrogen and for power, so and for exports. So I think there will be no challenge in this sense. Let's see how I pass this. One moment here. Then when we look into our solar and wind potential, what we see is that the production of green hydrogen from renewable solar and wind sources represent a major opportunity for the northeast area of Brazil, where wind is more concentrated and our solar irradiation as well. But we see here other areas in Brazil at the coast also. And what is very good is that since we launched our energy auctions at the beginning of the years 2000, more or less 2003, this kind of power source has become very competitive. So we have this power has one of the lowest prices in the world, so that it will help green hydrogen to become competitive, we think, in 5 to 10 years. And then looking into biomass, what I think is very interesting when we look into this map is that it is more spread in the territory, so that this will help us to develop the hydrogen economy in the country, the whole infrastructure in the country for the use of green hydrogen as well. So what we think is that biomass potential is complementary to solar and wind energy potential in Brazil. So it's predominantly located in the southeast, south, and center-west regions in Brazil. But as I mentioned, this biomass industry is very consolidated in Brazil. We have to think that the Brazilian economy grew from our colonial times with the sugar economy. So this is a very, very mature economy industry in Brazil, and that is ready also to develop this other use or this other demand for its products. So what we see, we have a greater potential for hydrogen production from ethanol, from biogas, from glycerin, and from bioresidues as well. And we also see ethanol as a transport vector for hydrogen. So we think that we are ready to develop this kind of green hydrogen production as well, and also to be able to export technology in the future. And then this year, we did a work together with German partners, mainly the GIZ, looking into what were the potential for green hydrogen production and consumption in Brazil. And then they made like a questionnaire with several companies in Brazil about the main barriers for the development of green hydrogen in Brazil. So these are the responses I just highlighted here with these flags. the main ones. So starting with green, we have since 2002 a lot of resources from R&D, research and development, dedicated to hydrogen. So they don't see any barrier for user acceptance at the one hand, because we already stated we have this ecosystem as well for hydrogen, but also they don't see any gaps for R&D as well. On the other hand, we already see that we will have to develop skills and working capacity to deal with this new industry. So in yellow, what is stated is that they have detected a need of specialized workers for this industry. And in red, what they see is still lacking, missing for green hydrogen development in Brazil is economic feasibility and political support and incentives. So this is where we are working right now, specifically thinking about how to signalize a better investment environment for green hydrogen and hydrogen as a whole in Brazil. So summing up, when we think about the perspectives for green hydrogen in Brazil, we see, as stated by my Indian colleagues here, a good space for sustainable economic growth, for decarbonization, and for energy security. We think that developing the hydrogen economy in Brazil will help us to meet our decarbonization goals. We have also leading international companies working in Brazil in the energy sector, and also tradition in applying renewable energy sources to the energy grid. On the other hand, we also have, as already stated, excellent climate conditions, and a good geographic location that can make Brazil one of the major players in the new green hydrogen market in the world. And to reach this this objective, we are now discussing what we call our hydrogen national program, and want to develop the whole hydrogen industry, but also focusing on the green hydrogen as well. So then I'm almost finishing, but I will state what we have been doing recently. So in December last year, Brazil published its 30-year expansion plan, looking ahead, and hydrogen is already spotlighted in the chapter comprising disruptive technologies. So we already look into hydrogen there and see what needs to be developed to make this energy vector something competitive and used in our economy. As to February this year, then we have the National Council for Energy Policy, which is the Council of Ministers who advise the President of the Republic about strategic political matters. So this National Council defined hydrogen as one of the key strategic areas for public and publicly oriented innovation investments. Then in March, our Energy Research Office launched a specific report on the basis for a national strategy for hydrogen. And then the next month, the National Council for Energy Policy again determined then the establishment of directives for a national hydrogen program. This is what we are doing now. So we have like 60 days to come back to this council with the directives for the program. And then now in June, we are presenting our Hydrogen Energy Compact under the framework of the UN High-Level Dialogue on Energy. So this is a very good moment to be here together with you to discuss hydrogen. And then this is then my last slide. I will also then kindly invite you to join us the day after tomorrow to our side event about the Brazilian Hydrogen Energy Compact, and we will have several experts there who will be able to discuss with you what we are doing also in Brazil and what this compact is about. So I think I'm finishing my presentation now. Okay, so this was what I wanted to share with you, and I'm here. And if you have questions.
Thank you so much, Mr. Costa, for such an important, brilliant, and absolutely spot-on presentation. Well, at this point, we may take questions from the participants of the summit. I have some pre-prepared questions and some questions that we've received from the attendees. Please allow me to ask you. So here's the first one. With Brazil's giant pre-salt gas reserves, will blue hydrogen be more important than green hydrogen in country's policy?
Well, this is a very good question. When we think about hydrogen, and this is also why we chose hydrogen as our one of the themes of our energy compacts for the dialogue, we have for hydrogen the same narrative as we have for energy transition. And the key word for it is flexibility. We have the same goal in the world, which is decarbonization by 2050. And we think that we have to take the routes, the pathways that are more suitable to each reality, to each country, to do this in the fastest way and in the most cost-effective way. So what we are doing in Brazil is looking into all sources and possibilities to mature our industry and market for hydrogen. So the blue hydrogen will be for sure one of these pathways leading to what we call net zero hydrogen, because we are not bound to colors, but what we want is that in future that we have hydrogen that's not emitting. So I loved when Mr. Kumar also mentioned CCUS, because this is also a technology that we will have to invest in the coming years. And it's also where we see that big oil and gas companies are also investing. So we always think about technology in a non-prejudicial manner. We have to be neutral technologically, but we have to use technology in favor of what are our goals, and then it is to decarbonize. So we will have for sure green hydrogen, blue hydrogen, I don't know all the colors, but also always leading to the decarbonized one. So this is our target.
It's very wonderful, Ma. That's very wonderful. What would be the best use of hydrogen in domestic economy of Brazil? That is another question that we have received.
I think Mr. Kumar also mentioned this. I think we want to gain scale for hydrogen consumption and production, and in this way reduce costs as well, but mainly for this hard to decarbonize sector. So this is one test that we have, I think, in the world as a big goal. And this will be also the case in Brazil. So we also are looking into long distance transportation and industries like cement. This will be, I think, something like a game changer for if we succeed in doing this. I think this will be really a game changer in decarbonizing economies.
Wonder, in the Brics countries, we do think alike. Another question that I've received is, which is also a point of common discussion usually, is Brazil exploring natural gas blending for domestic use?
Yes, we are. But this is a very good question. In Brazil, we are undergoing two major sector reforms. One is the power sector reform, which I am also coordinating. And the other one is the natural gas market, what we call it. We recently passed a bill doing with this new gas market. So we see room for developing grids in Brazil still, because the territory is enormous, but we are already thinking of the development of this industry and in this what they call stranded assets, thinking about it with the repurpose of it to use it for other gases. So we think about our grids transporting also biogas, because we have also a lot of biogas production in Brazil, and also in future hydrogen. So there will be still, I think, in this next years, the development of this gas industry in Brazil, but with this, the development of infrastructure that we can repurpose afterwards for more carbon neutral sources.
All right. So we have a couple of questions, but we'll also keep the time limit in mind. And therefore, this is the one last question that I'm taking up for Brazil. Are you also targeting export markets for green hydrogen?
Yes, for sure. We have been discussing this with several countries. We have, I think, 3 projects announced in Brazil for green hydrogen. And what we see, they are private initiatives. So the states discussing directly with private investors and with potential importers of green hydrogen, mainly in Europe. And what we see is in our national hydrogen program, we are dedicating a part for international collaboration, and we are really open because we see we want to have room to develop hydrogen, being technologically neutral, but we are open. If investors think green hydrogen is already mature, is what they want, they will have room, and there will be a lot of room for partnerships with other countries and looking also for this export market for sure.
It was wonderful, wonderful, wonderful presentation, Mr. Costa. Thank you very much for being a part of the summit. It really means a lot to us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. With this, we move ahead to our second presentation of the day. We invite Mr. Kovalev Andrei from Russia. Mr. Kovalev Andrei, Russian Energy Agency, joining us for the presentation. Thank you so much, sir.
Good day, everybody. It is a pleasure to meet online such a distinguished international community focused on just one thing, hydrogen. I've been working with hydrogen for quite a while, and I'm really glad that there's so much focus, so much attention brought to this area at the present.
Please allow me to introduce you, sir. Please allow me to introduce you formally to the August gathering.
Yes, please.
Mr. Kovalev Andrei is associated with the Analytical Center of the Fuel and Energy Complex at the Russian Energy Agency of the Ministry of Energy of Russia. He is involved with the development of hydrogen economy in Russia. He is a distinguished professional in the energy space and has contributed to sustainable energy, innovative energy, and renewable energy sources development of the Russian economy. The forum is all yours, sir, for the next 20 minutes, and then we'll follow it up with question and answer from the attendees.
Thank you. Unfortunately, there seems to be a problem because I cannot share my screen with you, so I'll have to restrain myself with just a little speech, but I'll try to be as eloquent as I can. First of all, as you've just said, I represent Russian Energy Agency, which is a sort of consulting think tank, which collects information on energy markets and provides support for decision makers in Russian economy, and as well as private part and the private public authorities. Nowadays, there's a growing understanding on the Russian circles that the climate is an important part of the global agenda, and Russian authorities are trying to become a part of this movement, and we assign a great priority to the transition process in the global economy, of which the hydrogen is for sure an essential part. And so currently, the Russian governmental bodies, as well as think tanks, such as we, are dividing and designing the strategy documents which will be govern the Russian transition to the novel hydrogen markets. Basically, we're working on 2 documents at the moment, of which there's a roadmap describing the plan until the 2040. And a longer-term roadmap or the concept describing the development of the Russian hydrogen economy. So there are basically two milestones describing what we want to achieve. First of all, we want to launch several pilot projects which are supposed to provide approximately 200,000 tons annually of green and blue hydrogen exported to the interested parties abroad. Then, in the longer run, from 25 to 35, we would like to export from 2 to 7 million tons of hydrogen. And these are challenging milestones because even though Russia has definitely a long track record in energy technology and energy industry, as we all know, the trade hydrogen is to a large extent a separate market, and we all have to start from scratch in this area. But I believe that Russia has several considerable competitive advantages in this market. First of all, we have a long science and technology tradition, along with a very developed industrial market, as well as considerable energy industry with cheap energy resources and distributed energy infrastructure. So based on these competitive advantages, I believe we can achieve these milestones, even though there are several considerable bottlenecks slowing down the development of trade hydrogen in the global scale. As we all know, the most considerable of these bottlenecks is the cost of infrastructure and the volume, the amount of investments that is going to take us to build new infrastructure. Obviously, we will have to go step by step. And I believe that the first phase or the first stage would be several pilot projects, which are supposed to demonstrate the validity of the Russian strategy. But at the same time, I believe that we should not limit ourselves with just Russian involvement. Currently, the agency that I represent, Russian Energy Agency, is developing the framework for the pilot projects. And I welcome everybody to share their views, share their concepts, share their thoughts, and probably even apply some ideas for projects in Russia. Because I believe it's only by focusing or sharing our own energy and our own efforts that we can achieve the economy of scale effect, which can overcome the significant barriers associated with high costs of hydrogen. Russian strategy includes two different players. One of them is obviously the state or the government, and the other one is the private sector or the private companies. I represent here the governmental hands of this strategy. The government is obviously supposed to provide regulation, is supposed to form and oversee the incentives for this market. And we also need to provide the framework for the research and development policy for the hydrogen market. So that's what we do. That's what we focus on in Russian Energy Agency. But on the other hand, we also develop and try to establish the relationship between this governmental sector and the private companies or even state-owned companies, which are supposed to manage the pilot projects and launch the pilot projects, research and develop new ideas, new kinds of equipment for the hydrogen technology market and hydrogen market itself. And finally, they also have to market and sell the hydrogen, without which the whole thing would be just meaningless. Basically, we focus on blue and green hydrogen. And even though Russia has considerable research and development as well as energy potential in oil and gas economy, which obviously incentivizes us to focus on blue hydrogen, We also try to pay a lot of attention to the green hydrogen development. And we think that the future, the long-term future, belongs to the green technology. Obviously, the whole market is in the early stage of development due to the multiple barriers and multiple bottlenecks, of which the most considerable, as I've just said, is the cost of equipment and the cost of hydrogen. But we believe that the market has a bright future. We all see and we all read a lot of outlooks, roadmaps, and concepts describing the energy mix in 2050, 2030. But I believe that the future of this market depends largely on decisions we make today. And so it depends on the cooperation and it depends on the ability to optimize the decision making in this area. And so I welcome everybody to share their views, to share their context with the Energy Agency. And I believe that there's a considerable room for international cooperation in this field. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Andrei. How clearly and effectively you've brought forward your nation's perspective on green hydrogen. I think we are, if you permit, we can go ahead with taking some of the questions that we have received from attendees. May I?
Yes, please.
Yes. So the first question that we have received that I can see on board is, how is Russia planning to develop its export market for green hydrogen? Have you tied up with any other country willing to import green hydrogen?
Well, I believe the basic approach here should be based on laissez-faire. So it should be a free market, even though it is supported by different governments. I guess we all read recently the news about the German decision to subsidize the double auction procedure with 900 million euros. It is a considerable sum. But nevertheless, as we all see, what is being developed is a free market framework. So in Russia, we have several large-scale companies such as Rosatom and Gazprom, Yinplus, Rosnano, and many others. All of them have demonstrated their willingness and even their determination to develop the hydrogen market and to be an active part, to play an active role at this market. And so we believe their marketing talents, their sales talents will definitely find the proper niche for the product. Our role as a government is to support them to focus the regulatory force and the government subsidizing force at the bottlenecks that we're facing at the moment. The bottleneck that we're facing most is definitely the logistic, because even though we have some capacities, energy and technology, and even financial resources, there is considerable bottleneck limiting us in our desire to access the international market. And it's approximately the same bottleneck as we all face at the moment. So that's especially the area that I'd like to welcome when you try to keep in touch with the Russian energy authorities. There's also research and development approach that I'd like to give a few moments to. I believe that should be a step-by-step approach based on pilot projects, ramp up or scale up, another pilot project, and so on and on and on. So we don't have to make decisions just right now and then follow it, no matter what. We have to use the reality check. We have to start with little shipments, make sure that the idea is workable, it's reliable, it has clients. Then we have to scale up a little bit, and then on and on and on and on. And given the data that I'm getting from Europe, I believe the market is quite developed. There's already a market, despite what many say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was so well put, sir. Another question that has come up is what is Russia's target for green hydrogen-based mobility? How do you see fuel cell vehicles competing with battery electric vehicles? So between the two.
Well, the basic approach is probably shared by everyone who's listening to this presentation. But and obviously there are Russian developers working on the green mobility. Some of them are state-owned research and development institutions, such as NAMI. Some of them are private. But the first priority that we assign our sources to is the overcoming the bottlenecks, the problems that we face at the moment. And so I believe we should build the market. So Russia at the moment is facing some restrictions, regulatory restrictions, and some outdated standards that we have to review and modernize. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're working on at the moment. So I believe when this work is done, there will be much more room for development, including the green mobility. There are several pilot projects in this area which are planned for nearest future, starting with 2022. And I believe in 3 or 4 years, we'll see the first results in the area of green mobility. Obviously, we will have to start with just several buses, several forklifts, and several trucks. But I believe, given the feedback that we're getting from European and US projects, the development will be very quick. Thank you.
So we are bombarded with so many questions for you. I have a list of like almost 5 to 6 more questions. If you allow me, I'll take it one by one.
Yes, please.
So the other question is, when do you think can blue hydrogen be overtaken by green hydrogen in terms of cost of production?
Well, again, I'm very moderate when it comes to outlooks and roadmaps, because basically the future depends largely on the trial and error approach. Mm-hmm. And I guess we should allow all technologies to compete on a moderate level, at the level at which the error is not a death sentence for the whole market. And I believe that it's only the free competition between the technologies that will allow us to see the winner in the longer run. From my point of view, the blue hydrogen is probably the mid-scale, the mid-term solution. And in the longer run, the green hydrogen might be cheaper, it might be more environment friendly, and it might be more welcome by the international community focused on sustainable development and green transition. But again, it doesn't mean that we have to cast away the technology which is working at the moment.
So the other question that we have is probably, it stems from the previous question, and it is whether you're planning to blend green and blue hydrogen in vast Russian gas networks. Is that on plan?
It's being analyzed at the moment. So there are different think tanks and design bureaus which are actively analyzing this option. But at the moment, there's no definite plan. There's no commitment to switch to the methane hydrogen mixture being exported through the Russian pipeline system. And I think the first priority here is to follow the commitments that we already have because we have international shipment contracts for Russian natural gas. And so we have to stick to those contracts, stick to those commitments. We cannot just cast them out in favor of a new technology, which is being only tested. So I think the commitment to current promises is the first thing that we should do here.
Got that, sir. Another question is, will the focus be on using nuclear power instead of green hydrogen generation of renewable energy power sources such as solar or wind? Is the question clear to you, sir? Or do you want me to repeat it?
Yes, I hear it. I think that is one of the competitive advantages of the Russian energy market. We have a considerable share of nuclear power generation, and just in many other cases, the availability and the capacity of this nuclear power generation could be considerably enhanced or considerably optimized. And luckily, hydrogen production could be one of the options which could allow us to optimize and enhance the capacity of the Russian power generation in nuclear fields. So this idea is being actively analyzed, and I would not like to represent here the nuclear authorities, which have their own representative and probably their own speaker at this spot. But as far as I know, they're actively working on several projects in hydrogen production powered by nuclear electricity.
That explains, sir. That very well explains. And here's the last question that we're taking for Russia here now. How is Russia thinking of developing green hydrogen, considering its geographic disadvantage for solar installations per se?
Again, I would follow laissez-faire approach. So there might be different advantages and different disadvantages, and we cannot compete on all markets, but we definitely have considerable advantages in some areas. Russia is a big country, so in some regions, there's a great insulation, there's a great wind potential, there's a proximity to the potential buyers and potential customers. And so I wouldn't say that Russia is just a spot on the map, a little point on the map. It is a very distributed, large market about which we have to think in terms of distribution and regional potential, not in terms of what Russia in general is capable of. There are different options. And again, that's why I'm so fond of the laissez-faire approach.
Thank you so much, sir. That was so well explained. All of the questions. We're really, really grateful to have you on board in this summit, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I hope you have a meaningful day ahead today as well as tomorrow. Please stay around.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was Mr. Kovalev Andrei from the Russian Energy Agency. And now we move on to our very own country, India. We have Dr. P.C. Matheny joining us from India to make a presentation on India's perspective on green hydrogen. Hello, Dr. Matheny.
Hello, good afternoon. Yeah.
Yes, good afternoon, sir. Dr. Matheny is currently an advisor in the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, Government of India. Among other responsibilities, he currently leads policy and regulation, hydrogen and fuel cell, and energy storage group in the ministry. Dr. Matheny holds a doctorate in physics and MBA from IIM Bangalore. He has contributed to many papers and articles and authored 2 books. Renewable Energy in the Global Context, published in 2008, and Achieving Universal Energy Access in India, Challenges and Way Forward, published in 2015. I invite Dr. Mehti to present India's perspective and strategic initiatives in the field of green hydrogen. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much for this introduction. Thank you. Honorable Secretary, Ministry of Power, Mr. Gurdeep Singh, CMD NTPC, my dear friend, Mr. Mohit Bhargav from NTPC, distinguished speakers from Brazil, Russia, China, and South Africa. It's my privilege to welcome you all and thank for this event. In fact, in the month of April, we had organized a similar Brics event on energy storage technology, and there are great synergy I am witnessing between the two events which my ministry had organized that time. And this is a platform whereby we will be just making more closer linkages on these programs. So friends, hydrogen is one of the major priority area for India. And we have been implementing broad-based programs on different aspects of the hydrogen segment. And the history goes back in the year 2003 when the world was witnessing hydrogen as one of the energy carrier. One is electron, another is the hydrogen to replace the liquid fossil fuel. And that time we all countries, including Brazil, China, South Africa, and India joined, and Russia also, to form an international partnership for hydrogen and fuel cells. And we are the founding member. So Brics countries were the founding member of the IPHE also, under which platform we have been collaborating on different aspects of hydrogen and fuel cell, including research and development, common code and standards, and information sharing. And this is one dimension which we are now looking under the Brics regime. Friends, insofar as India is concerned, the key drivers for the strategic, we consider hydrogen and fuel cell technologies of the strategic importance from the India's point of view. Honorable Secretary, Ministry of Power in his remarks have mentioned about the plans India has for cleaning or for a green energy transition in the country, including increasing the share of renewable energy in a much larger way than we were expecting in the past. We do have our plans for 2022 for increasing the share of renewable energy. We do have our plans for 2030. And we have plans that by 2030, around 450 GACs of renewable energy will be set up in the country. Apart from meeting electricity needs, renewable energy is seen, this hydrogen is seen one of the major means, first for the absorption of greater share of renewables, that is one. Second, for clean transportation, we feel that hydrogen can replace transportation, liquid fossil fuel in a big way. And third, these sectors are, as Secretary Power has also mentioned, about the hard to abate sectors, where decarbonization of industry, whereby the liquid fossil fuel or solid fossil fuels which are being used in industry, particularly in steel, in ammonia and refining and other places, can we replace hydrogen by this fossil fuels? So these are the three distinct segments where exactly we are looking that hydrogen has a major relevance to move ahead. And the areas which have been identified for realizing this vision are the green hydrogen from renewables, that is one. Hydrogen supply chain infrastructure, that is the another most important thing. Research and development, this is the fulcrum of all programs. Unless continuously technologies develop and these are absorbed in our demonstration as well as deployment programs, things will remain static. So therefore, country is looking forward a massive and vibrant research and development program. And on top of that, because we all know hydrogen energy technologies are at certain stage of development where they are still little far from the cost competitiveness if we compare them with the baseline technologies which are being used for different applications. So to create demand and to move ahead, the demonstration of niche applications so that we validate the technology and technology risks are understood in a proper way. As I mentioned, in the 2003, when we started, India was among the first countries which constituted a National Hydrogen Energy Board, and this was constituted sometime in the year 2004. And then country decided to go in a massive way for research and development, for industrial applications and other applications. And the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, which is the nodal ministry for hydrogen in the Government of India, initiated pilot projects on different aspects. They were for application, fuel cell development, production, storage, and infrastructure creation. So just to say that in applications, some of the technologies have been developed. I would like to name that Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi, has come up with this hydrogen internal combustion engine. These have been developed and these have been tested, and they have been found at par with the global technologies which are available. Under these projects, some of the hydrogen fuel three-wheelers have been developed with the industry partnership. Mahindra & Mahindra, the Indian industry, in collaboration with IIT Delhi and the Banaras Hindu University, have developed and demonstrated around 40 fuel cell three-wheelers, and the results, they have logged more than 70,000 kilometers, and the results are that the hydrogen has really improved their life and efficiency also, and these technologies are perfected for application in these vehicles. But these are combustion based in both the cases. And H2 hydrogen fueled minibuses have been developed by Mahindra & Mahindra and IIT Delhi. That is for the application part which has been done. Now in the fuel cell, this Bharat Heavy Electrical Limited, Center for Fuel Cell Technology, and IIT Bombay, these are three premier organizations and institutions in the country, have been developing fuel cell stack, and one proton exchange membrane fuel cell production facility at high indigenous content is being established under one of these projects. It is at very, very advanced stage. Production-wise, all possible routes are being applied, and the biological route, our Indian Institute of Technology, Kharagpur, has perfected it, and a 10 cubic meter capacity production per day technology has been developed. And in fact, this technology has been transferred to some of the industries for application in their applications. So that way, and Biomass Gasification, Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, has come up with the gasification technology, whereby from biomass route, we can generate from 1 kg of wood or 1 kg of biomass, around 90 grams of hydrogen can be produced, and this is most cost competitive if you compare with the electrolysis and other options which are not fossil fuel route. So this has a great promise, and we are finding it really one of the most important significant development which has been achieved within the country. Indian Oil Corporation Limited, which is one of the public sector undertaking under the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, has entered into a memorandum of understanding with this ISC Bangalore for transferring this technology, whereby they can produce hydrogen for various applications from the biomass route. And so on and so forth. In the storage also, there are notable progresses from the BHU as well as the IIT Madras has developed the carbon nanomaterials. And infrastructure-wise, a beginning has already been made. One of our institute, which is near Delhi, National Institute for Solar Energy, where we have set up a solar photovoltaic facility and a hydrogen refueling station facility also all together, and then buses are running from that hydrogen produced from the solar photovoltaic. Apart from that, other fueling station has been set up at Faridabad in the campus of Indian Oil Corporation Limited. So that way, in all segments, some progress has been made under the research and development programs of the ministry. Apart from the ministry, some notable achievements which have been done are the fuel cell buses has been developed by the Tata Motors. Recently, the Indian Oil Corporation has been running 50 buses run on the hydrogen's compressed natural gas blended fuel in Delhi, and they have been implementing it successfully. Electrolyzers and fuel cell technologies have been developed at the Bhabha Atomic Research Center and DRDO laboratories. So as I mentioned that my ministry, that is what I represent, this Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, have been implementing a number of programs. There are other horizontal ministries which are also working in a significant way to develop these technologies in the country. Our main Department of Science and Technology has also been supporting advanced basic research and development in hydrogen, and they have implemented network platform for hydrogen technology. And they have recently come up with a new call for proposal in the month of June, this month itself. As I mentioned about this Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, under which this Indian Oil Corporation Limited is there, they are running this transport buses, pilot projects under green this refineries, hydrogen blending in the city gas network. These are something which they have been attempting it, although at the pilot stage. Ministry of Road Transport and Highway is one of the important ministries which have been working to create a facilitative framework for hydrogen in the country. They have already notified standards for safety for fuel cell electric vehicles. They have notified hydrogen CNG as automatic fuel, and regulatory framework for hydrogen fuel vehicles. They are still working, and apart from that, this Bureau of Indian Standards have come up with the safety standards for hydrogen. So that way a beginning has already been made, and significant progress we are witnessing, and we hope that within next few years this will be really leading to a different level. Department of Heavy Industries have been implementing a program named as Faster Adoption and manufacturing of electric vehicles, because end of the day, this hydrogen vehicles are the electric vehicles, and they have come up with the financial incentives for electric vehicles. The BHEL, which is the private sector entity under the Department of Heavy Industry, has undertaken fuel cell development. And recently, in my interaction with BHEL, they have mentioned that they are ready to transfer this technology and as well as to set up some buses based on the indigenously developed technologies. NTPC, which is one of our organization under the Ministry of Power, has undertaken significant research on different aspects of the hydrogen also, and they have plans to operate fuel cell buses in high altitude regions of Himalaya and to replace diesel-based energy generation in remote islands. So that way, there are a basket of activities are already on. Still, however, we also recognize that much more needs to be done, and what we have done, it is primarily focused on research and development, fully recognizing that this technology has high promise, but there are still gaps in the technology in terms of the efficiency as well as the cost. So understanding the promise which hydrogen can provide for the country and looking at the ambitious aims and plans which country has for energy transition, particularly increasing the share of renewables in the energy mix and diversification of renewable energy in other sectors of the economy, Honorable Prime Minister on 26th November 2020 announced National Hydrogen Energy Mission. We started working on it, and we have already developed a draft National Hydrogen Energy Mission, which is under consultation process as the policy formulation process in India. This will go through a rigorous consultation process with the other ministries which have their stake on that. Some of the ministries which I mentioned earlier, that the Department of Science and Technology, Petroleum and Natural Gas, Department of Fertilizer, the Ministry of Power, and many more. So this is under that process, and this document lays our vision, intent, and direction for hydrogen and suggests strategy and approaches for realizing the vision. So in brief, this mission talks of some of the activities. If it says that first task is that to set goals for 2030, and we have made goals in the two parts. One is to make a kickstart for up to the year 2024 and thereafter up to 2030. And in this process, we are looking that first task is to kickstart from the existing ecosystem and then create some niche application in the form of the pilots for transport purposes, within transport, for the individual transport, for the commercial vehicles, for railways. In fact, incidentally, two proposals from railways are at advanced stage of processing. So whereby in the railway locomotive, we'll be using hydrogen for traction purposes. Steel is a virgin industry where India has plans. One or two proposals have also been developed, and we are very seriously looking forward that how green steel can be produced instead of coke or natural gas. We can use hydrogen for hydrogen redox, for steel redox purposes. Another focus area under the mission also we are looking for that is the fertilizer industry. In the fertilizer industry, so far the ammonia production is being done through the natural gas primarily in the country, about 96 to 97%. Just 3% from naphtha, which is also being translated into natural gas. So aim is that to create an ecosystem whereby we start switching over from natural gas to hydrogen over a period of time. And in parallel to the National Hydrogen Energy Mission document, we have also proposed green hydrogen consumption obligations in some of the industries, particularly in fertilizer and refining, which are the main where the hydrogen is used in a big way, even present, and that all hydrogen comes from the fossil fuel route. So this proposal is also at very advanced stage of consultation, and we do hope and believe that given the thing by end of this year, both these things, one is the mission activities will be in a place, and also this green hydrogen consumption obligations in some of the major industries will also be put in place. So this mission, apart from this demand aggregation, setting up the pilot project for application, it is for production purposes, infrastructure and supply chain. That is also very, very important. This mission looks for that, how do fueling stations should be put in place. The another innovative area of work is the hydrogen hubs. we feel that hydrogen hubs could really jumpstart all the process and just creating at different places. And how hydrogen one of the question for Russia was about that, how in the existing gas pipelines we can make certain percentage of hydrogen without any disturbance in the existing system. And the studies which have been done in India reveals that up to 18% replacement in the gas pipeline through hydrogen is possible. So this is just easy low-hanging fruit whereby we can immediately start for that, and our mission will look forward for these things. As I said earlier also, research and development and analytical studies will continue to be major thing, because this ecosystem is turning at very fast rate. In the year 2019, the International Energy Agency had come with the future of hydrogen report, whereby they have come with some kind of analysis and mentioned that by the year 2026 or 7, hydrogen application could be cost competitive with the baseline thing. So we are working to make facilitative policies, regulations, standard to facilitate it as quickly as possible. So this entire mission is around these very premises, and we look forward to move ahead in a big way in the times to come. So under the Brics, we consider Brics as one of the major area where things can move ahead. We recognize potential and opportunities of hydrogen. At the same time, we are aware there are various techno-economic challenges that needs to be addressed before hydrogen energy application are mainstream. So under this Brics, we look forward to working together to overcome some of the challenges and make hydrogen and fuel cell technologies cost competitive, safe and convenient to use. So some of the areas for collaboration which we feel could be taken up in a concerted manner are the public-private partnership on hydrogen among Brics countries that will really facilitate the process. We do have many things in common, and we can build on each other's strength and come up with some kind of new ecosystem for hydrogen energy application. And mutually beneficial pilot projects we can take up for the niche applications and learn from each other's experiences. Joint research and development, whereby our institutions working in our respective countries and industries from the Brics countries can join hands and work for creating the markets for hydrogen in cost-effective manner. And exchange of information and technology projects and policy experiences obviously is one of the major areas for work. Friends, we strongly believe that the Brics Forum will bring new opportunities for further strengthening our cooperation. Our efforts will pave the way for accelerated development and deployment of hydrogen energy technologies in our Brics member countries and also across the globe. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening me. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for presenting to the forum today and for bringing forth India's ambition and plans on green hydrogen initiative. Your inputs are very timely, and we believe it will bring about opportunities for Brics to collaborate and grow together, especially in the areas like you suggested in public-private partnerships, mutually beneficial pilot projects, joint R&D, and so many more. Well, this is a good time to give a shout out to all the attendees here in the summit. We are about to take questions from you for Dr. Matheny. And at this moment, we have been joined by overwhelmingly 300 plus participants here in the MS Teams meeting itself. And so many of our colleagues and power professionals have joined us on YouTube as well. So thank you, everyone. Please post your questions. I'll, with your permission, sir, may I go ahead with the first question we have on board for you?
Yeah, thank you. Please.
So the first question is, since India is a vast country with highest population density, what do you feel would be the most difficult challenge to implement in a green hydrogen economy in a period of 10 years from now, or during the period of 10 years?
So, ma'am, as I mentioned in my presentation, that India is certainly a huge country, and we have massive plans for renewables, and green hydrogen will certainly be providing the opportunities. Uniformly distributing technological advances across the country may be one of the major challenges, and particularly in the context of hydrogen, it is the infrastructure development is a challenge. But we learned from our renewable story for the solar, particularly in beginning in the year 2010, when we started, it was not cost effective, and developing these powers and solar projects was one of the major challenges. But within 5-6 years, We have reached to a level that it has been mainstreamed, prices has come parity. And here, if you must have, I have mentioned about the hydrogen hub. So our focus is that in the industry, wherever they are, we will have a concentrated and focused approach. Infrastructure-wise, for transport purposes, this hydrogen-based circuits is another area of the work where we will start. Instead of thinly distributing our resources across the country, we'll identify across the country some of the areas where it can be used in a very, very concentrated manner. But now the challenge remains. Challenge remains that when we go for pilot projects or niche application, it requires some additional investment, which primarily comes from the public. Government means that it is the public resources which have to be utilized, or industry learns and looks for the future investment perspective. So this mission is trying to address these things and true to it that public as well as the private both will join hand to create in a uniform manner across the industries as well as across the other places in the country, so that the challenges which are faced can be handled in a most amicable manner given the ground realities of the country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. So that second question before you is, sir, is India planning to have any green hydrogen mandate to create demand in the initial years?
Yes, ma'am. As I mentioned that this ministry has initiated a proposal which is under consultation. It will not be proper for me to tell that what exactly it is till the time it is approved. But certainly there is a wish and will to mandate in certain industries for this, that out of the total fossil fuel used for hydrogen production, certain percentage should come from green hydrogen. So that is this government is really keenly working on towards that direction. Yes, and these mandates will start after 2023-24, so that some lead time is there, and then industry take it up in a very positive manner. Yes,
that suffices, sir. Thank you so much. And the other question is again something which you had discussed in your presentation, but maybe you would like to elaborate on it. Which sectors do you think are low-hanging fruits where you can start green hydrogen projects immediately? You did mention about this in your presentation a little bit.
So insofar as costs are concerned, certainly the cost parity is not there, and the infrastructure cost which ultimately government will have to bear is one of the major barrier for which government is trying to come up with some kind of investment which can come from the public, and at the same time industry can also take up in that single place. Industry can also take up it in a manner. So insofar as I mentioned that if we are looking blending of hydrogen for transport purposes in the gas network, that could be a low-hanging fruit to begin with. Secondly, industries which are using hydrogen, particularly fertilizer or petroleum refining, if they start making very, very small manner in very little way, just baby steps, so within this will not have much cost implications, and they will be better in understanding the technology risk, and associated infrastructure could also be developed in a big way. Apart from that, another thing where hydrogen can be seen at parity is our islands. So we do have plans to some of the islands which are remote, which are fed by diesel at present. The cost of electrification is very high. So we're looking that can hydrogen be replaced by that, and some promises have been. We have realized that it is very, very promising. It will not put much of the financial cost also. Particularly, I mentioned that in the Himalayan region, some of the areas are being looked for the transport purposes. Some of the islands for providing electricity from hydrogen based is cost competitive if we look from the cost of diesel which is being spent on them for electrification purposes. So these could be construed as if these are the low-hanging fruit. Yeah, thank you.
You've been a champion and stalwart in this field, and we all know that it's absolutely an honor for us to hear from you in this summit, and probably that is the reason why we are flooded with so many questions. Though we are running short of time, but please allow me to take some of them. We are actually flooded with a lot of questions for you, sir. One of the question is, can we become net exporter of energy in 15-20 years?
So, ma'am, let me put it that way. We are already exporting energy in certain way. And if you look at that, but the question is that can we export green energy or not? So this is the biggest thing. So at present, if you look at the trajectory from 2014 onwards, to be very specific, the growth of green energy in the electricity mix has increased at the compounded annual growth rate of 20%, which is much higher than that of the growth of the electricity demand in the country. So that way, if you go every 3 years, we are doubling our pace. So that way, we will be certainly increasing the share of renewable energy significantly in the existing electricity mix. And depending upon circumstances, we will be importing as well as exporting also, because I recall under this, our Honorable Prime Minister in one of these statement, and one sun, one grid and one world initiative has been launched by India, which is being piloted by India, whereby we say that the sun is somewhere at certain point of time. So if we are not having green energy here, we can import from the countries which are having sun at that time, and we can export to other countries where sun is not there. So it is not the question that exporting of the energy, it is question that how rationalizing the energy use, whereby we can optimize green energy across the world. So that initiative India has already launched, and I'm sure that within next 5-6 years, some tangible results will start flowing under this initiative. And this will also take the question that how much we can export, or if need arises, we can increase the share of renewables in our energy mix also out of this initiative. Thank you.
That's very heartening to know, sir. Could you briefly describe the anticipated trajectory of growth for green hydrogen in the country in terms of megawatt capacity of electrolyzers?
So we made some analysis. Last time, and by 2030, we realized that if we make about 10-15% or something like that, to around 40 GACs will be required for the renewables. And this, if we go by the international standard, then 50% is required the electrolyzer capacity. So this is only a ballpark figure, but it all is contingent upon whether you are really putting your electrolyzer capacity on renewables, or you are using our open access or other kind of electricity transmission networks, whereby we can use electrolyzer much greater capacity instead of 50%. So then electrolyzer capacity could be lesser than that also. Question is not the electrolyzer capacity. Question is that how much renewable energy is converted into hydrogen. So if I take a EU document, or if I take the Japanese document or Australian document, everywhere they have taken a ballpark figure of that, whatsoever green energy, 50% of the electrolyzer capacity you take, and say that this is the number of electrolyzer. So even if I take with that, the initial analysis which we have done says that it's much higher than the EU and other countries which we are trying to project. But as I said, with a caveat that these are under discussion, these numbers. So it is not 1-to-1 ratio of this renewable, but renewable certainly we looked at more than 40 GACs or so could be utilized for hydrogen production for different applications. And electrolyzer is only where we make hydrogen, and there could be other ways also looking at biomass-based hydrogen production is another area which India is pursuing, where electrolyzer is not needed, and that also provide a big promise. And if you see that since 2011, where the census 86% of the rural population was cooking on biofuels, biomass and biomass residue, now this percentage under the Ujjwala scheme has reduced significantly. We have much surplus biomass in the rural areas. So this could be safely and very cost-effective manner can be transported for making hydrogen. So it is not only a question of the electrolyzer, it is question that how much hydrogen we can produce from various sources. So biomass is also, apart from electrolyzer, biomass is also a candidate technology which India is looking forward in a big way. Thank you, ma'am.
In fact, I do not know how to put this forward, but hydrogen economy seems to be in absolutely safe hands with you having drafted the hydrogen mission. And your noteworthy work is something that we would remember forever and ever. We are grateful to you for the beautiful work that you've been doing, sir. I have a lot more questions. I really do not know. I'll have to ask my team whether we have good enough time to take more questions. Let's take about 1 or 2 questions more, sir, if you permit. Yes? Dr. Mathny?
Yeah, I can take, no issue.
All right, sir. Is there a plan for formulation of hydrogen regulatory authority kind of platform which will enable and simplify regulatory framework for fuel cell vehicles, fueling stations, and hydrogen transportation?
No, ma'am. As I mentioned, that we have 2-3 parallel institutions which are or institutional mechanism already existing, and which are very efficient. As I said, under this Ministry of Road Transport, number of initiatives have been taken since last 2 years, particularly for creating an infrastructure for hydrogen. We have declared hydrogen as automatic fuel. It is now for transport purposes. It has also been permitted. So, and standards, safety standards are already put in place. The immediate task in hand is the harmonization of the code and standards, because we do feel that any country cannot make in isolation these standards, and whatsoever is being globally being done, so that we are fully in sync with and fully in synergy with the global development in this process. We do not foresee that there is a need for any additional institutional network for hydrogen, because our system is really robust insofar as making regulation is concerned. We are known for that in this country and globally also for rules and regulations. And it will be really, at present, there are no plans, and I don't foresee the need also, because the way they are responding to any request, I can give you some examples also for that. Last year, Toyota came to us and they have imported a Mirai. This is run on hydrogen. So they were told that they cannot run this car on roads simply because this is not permitted under this rules, they require some kind of certification and this and that. Once we took up the case, within 1 or 2 months, this was done. And it is very, very fast from all standards. So far, my experience says that either it is the Ministry of Road Transport or Bureau of Indian Standard or this Petroleum Safety Organization, they all have been very responsive to it, and there is a vibrancy everywhere for the hydrogen. So no need to create a institutional fatigue and create some new organization for the purpose that perhaps not required at this stage. Yeah, thank you.
So second last question. After this, I'll take just one more. What will be the alternative as clean fuel for airline industry?
I don't know, because hydrogen was there in 1938 when Germany tried hydrogen as a fuel for aviation purposes, and you all know, I will not tell that what happened, fate of that. Hydrogen is the fuel for space travel, we all know that. But the question is not that what is the alternate fuel. Biofuels are also being tried, and I don't think I am too eligible to give any technical answer to it, but number of options are there. And I don't know that what kind of technology trends will take, and but maybe there are some drivers are already there. One of the driver is the climate change, and the kind of rules which are under the CORSIA, the negotiations of the climate change. They are the carbon dioxide emission from aviation industry is bound to reduce, and this will create a space for either for biofuels or for hydrogen in a big way. That much I can say.
Right, sir. Absolutely, the last question for you now, and which is a very ambitious question, it seems like. With high RE potential, can India aim for becoming a green energy superpower?
I don't know what is the power, what is superpower, what is intermediary power. These words we have coined. What I feel that as a proud Indian, if we are making a transition very, very smooth, whereby our people are not suffered. And we are best in our technologies, globally competitive cutting-edge technology. So we don't want to become any power or anything, but we'll be competing with the world in a very cost-effective manner. That much I can say. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. I'm really grateful for the time and effort you've taken out to share your thoughts, your experience, your perspective in the summit today. Thank you once again. Completely an honor to have you today.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you to all. Yes.
And now moving ahead to the next country, we have Ms. Fu Tianyi from China, member of National Energy Administration of China, with us today, joining here. She does not have a formal presentation to share with us, but we invite her to share greetings with the delegates and participants and her thoughts on the summit.
Okay, thank you for your introduction. I'm Fu Tianyi with the National Energy Administration of China. I want to say I'm very glad to be in this meeting and see a full house of Brics countries. And I would like to thank the presidency, India, for the great arrangement and the preparation. I must say that I have learned a lot from the informative and wonderful presentations from Brazil, Russia, and India. And I'm also looking forward to the next presentation and the discussion in the 2 days. Again, I want to thank all the guests and hosts here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you very much. Completely an honor for us to have you on board today. We look forward to interacting with you tomorrow also. We move ahead with the next country, which is South Africa, And we have Mr. Magabo H. Siri, International Relations at National Department of Energy from South Africa, joining us today.
Chairperson and distinguished guests, my fellow presenters from the BRICS countries, good afternoon, good evening, and good morning elsewhere across the BRICS member countries. I will be talking to the roadmap that is defining South Africa's progress as far as the development of hydrogen is concerned. Maybe to begin by saying that the whole hydrogen journey in South Africa is premised on the so-called National Development Plan, which really commit the country to transition towards a knowledge-driven and a low-carbon economy. Of course, supporting this is our national industrial policy, which also is I have identified the green economy to be among the top drivers of job creation, but also for industrial development.
So if you could allow me to introduce you before you begin. That needs to be done. I know it's a part of the formal procedure, so please allow me to do that. Mr. Singh is International Relations Manager at National Department of Energy from South Africa. He has worked with international organizations and in protocol, bilateral and multilateral processes and procedures. He has expertise working in Department of Trade and Industry. He has a professional background from arts, economic studies, and international relations. I invite you, sir, to present your views today in the forum.
Right. Thank you very much, and apologies for me. It really shows that we are indeed looking forward to sharing with you what South Africa has achieved as far as this topic is concerned. So, Chairperson and fellow presenters, what South Africa has adopted is a shared aspiration approach to see how different actors and sectors in South Africa can benefit from the hydrogen opportunity in terms of job creation, because we've got a high unemployment rate in South Africa, but more so to propel the country into a new direction as far as economic growth and development is concerned. I mentioned already that our national industrial policy has identified green economy to be a driver for job creation and economic development. But the whole notion of hydrogen, how does it contribute to energy security within the context of the socially just transition, making sure that South Africa, as you may be aware, that we do have 70% of PGM, and then how do we add value into all this? And we have identified sectors that can benefit from the hydrogen, first being energy, obviously, mining as far as PGMs are concerned, but the transport sector as well, industry as we decarbonize it, the cement still, but the buildings, but of paramount importance, of course, we would like to export, we would like to beneficiate and export. But it also opened opportunity as far as research and development is concerned. We do work with various research and development institutions as far as this is concerned, but also there is engagement with industry association, state-led entities and civil society at large. So having said that, Chairperson, in 2007, I don't know if I'm able to share. All right. Nonetheless, in 2007, Cabinet in South Africa approved what we called the National Hydrogen South Africa Strategy. It's called HISA. And following that, in 2008, there was a formal launch of the hydrogen strategy with the Department of Science and Innovation in South Africa being the anchor department in terms of coordinating all activities. So that's how far that concerned. And then in 2014, we had the review of the first 5 years of this strategy to see where had it worked, where it hasn't worked. In terms of focus area, we would like to decarbonize the transport sectors, the heavy-duty vehicles, the shipping and rail and aviation industry. Also, as I've mentioned, the intensive industries such as steel, chemical, mining, refineries. But we would like to also export. As a way forward, we will be finalizing a consultation process with regard to the revision of what Cabinet has adopted in 2007. The departments that are involved in there are the Department of Trade and Industry, the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy. Of course, there are a number of consultation with audit firms such as the KPMG, so as to get a broad-based inputs on how South Africa should be looking forward. We did also, chairperson and delegates, we did in 2009 ascended to the international membership of hydrogen and fuel cells economy, with the expectation that this partnership will at the national level create commercial partnerships and agreements with key international and local industry, so as to boost manufacturing across various sectors, especially fuel cells, energy component. So looking forward, we are likely by this the year end to have cabinet having approved the revised hydrogen strategy after few initiatives have been put to feasibility phases, and we hope that that will be approved by cabinet, and we hope that there will be the overall launch of South Africa's hydrogen strategy by president in a year or so to come. So chairperson, that will be how South Africa has been preparing as far as hydrogen roadmap is concerned. So we are looking forward to having all these launched at the international level. There will be a number of roadworks undertaken by both the leading ministries and also the industries and the research institutions that have partnered with government in this regard. So in a nutshell, we are still in a development stage of activities and the strategies, and we will be launching this in those days that have been mentioned. So in a nutshell, that's how we are looking, and we're looking forward to partnering with fellow Brics member countries to ensure that we create success on this. I will leave it at that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Siri. Please accept our sincere appreciation for the outstanding presentation you have made in the summit today. And it's heartening to learn about South Africa's plan on furtherance of green hydrogen and the keenness to collaborate. If you allow, we can take up some questions that we've received from the attendees. So here's the first question for you, sir. How does South Africa want to reduce its energy import with domestic production of green hydrogen? Is South Africa planning to target any export market? May I repeat, sir?
No, it's okay. It's okay. I've heard this. We do have the so-called integrated resource plan, which guides how different energy technologies are going to be procured in South Africa. So far, we cannot, as a country, lock ourselves into one technology. So we are exploring various options, and as you may know very well, that South Africa is predominantly a coal-dominated country as far as generation of electricity is concerned, and most of the other sources, such as hydrocarbons, are mainly imported. So we are looking at various technologies and various options just to diversify our options and to make sure that our risks are muted. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That explains, sir. Which sector best suits South Africa to bring in green hydrogen technologies?
There are currently there are some developments that have been targeted as far as hydrogen is concerned. One is in the so-called bushveld mining areas. The interest on hydrogen is driven mainly by the mining, of course, mining trucks fueling, and the whole associated activities in that bushveld mining belt. So the mining sector is one, but more also at the ports. There are a number of activities that has been identified with regard to handling equipments. Also the oil refineries. Switching from one colors to the other and decarbonizing. Thank you.
Right, sir. Okay, this is the second last question for you, sir. What is your view on green hydrogen mobility? How far are we in bringing technology to the common man in, say, 5 years or 10 years?
I think what needs to happen, we may need to bring this whole, so that there is societal acceptance. We may need to bring the whole hydrogen notion to be user friendly in terms of understanding to the common man on the street. So as far as awareness is concerned, awareness campaigns, as I've mentioned, this will be formally launched after extensive research and consultation with stakeholders. So we may need to demystify this. We may need to make it user friendly and understandable, but more so, buy-in is mainly coming when the intended users and the intended beneficiaries are able to associate themselves with the benefits that are going to be derived therein.
Right. Thank you so much, sir. Sir, although you have already touched upon this while you were making your presentation, but we'd like you to elaborate a little more on hydrogen strategy of South Africa.
Yes, it was adopted in 2007, and it was to be done in 3 phases. One on research and development, and then the other one on testing and launching, and then the other one was on the commercialization of innovation ideas. So it has been in the making for some time, the strategy. But as I've said, there has been a number of consultation. We have done this in a stakeholder kind of a manner, industry, academia, and civil society. So therefore, we have seen what has worked as far as those feasibility projects are concerned, and we have also identified areas of improvement. So as I've said, we are now in the process of finalizing consultations, getting inputs from all relevant stakeholders, and Cabinet again should by this year end be able to endorse these strategies and national plan, and should be ready for launching at the international and partnership external partnership stakeholder level. Thank you.
That's so wonderful to know, sir. So thank you very much for being here. It's completely our honor to have you in the summit today. Thank you so much to the Republic of South Africa also. Well, with this, we are almost to the point where we may call this summit a wrap. Gratitude to each delegate for presenting your country's views on green hydrogen and for showing the solidarity in making the power industry across the world a better and sustainable place. With this, I think it's time that we invite Mr. Mohit Bhargav, Executive Director, Renewable Energy, NTPC Limited, to extend a vote of thanks. Currently, Mr. Bhargav is heading Renewable Energy Vertical of NTPC Limited as Executive Director. He is guiding to make RE portfolio of NTPC of size 60 plus gigawatts in the next 12 years. And also, he is spearheading the hydrogen economy initiatives from NTPC.
Thanks, Kenna. I think at the end of a very long and useful interaction, it really doesn't make much sense to have a lengthy vote of thanks, but this is a part I have to do in any case. So first and foremost, I'd like to actually thank all the participants, and I've been told we have been close to 500 people through YouTube and the Teams channels who joined us today. So thanks a lot, and a shout out to all you guys. So this is just the wrap of day one. We'll also have the day two tomorrow, so kindly join tomorrow as well. Taking this forward, I'd like to thank Mr. Alok Kumar, our Secretary Power of the Government of India. Sir, without your presence, probably we would have lost a lot of luster in today's program. You actually laid out well the government's priorities and prerogatives. So thanks a lot for your time, sir. And we have been guided by you earlier, and we hope to continue getting that guidance as well. This event wouldn't have been possible without the support of our CMD, our Chairman Managing Director, Mr. Gurdeep Singh, who has been leading NTPC's transformation from a primarily coal-based generator to a sustainable energy company. And all the work we have been able to do has his clear and uncomplicated support and helps us get things sorted out. So thanks a lot, sir, for your time today. Special thanks to Ms. Agnes De Foster, Mr. Andrei Kovalev, Dr. Mithani, my good friend, Ms. Fu Tianyi, and Mr. Magabo Tasiri. All of you made wonderful presentations. We today got to know a lot about what Brazil is doing and what Russia is doing. And of course, India's thing was probably more informative for people outside the country who have been trying to see what India is trying to do. We're quite happy to see that India is making leaps and bounds on this part. We do understand that the progress in all the countries may not be the same. So it's something, hydrogen is something which attracts a lot of guys, but the pace or the point at which we are probably different. Last but not least, it's probably very important to thank the team behind the show, Mr. Panda, who led the team who's been organizing the show, and the IT team at NTPC. And of course, all the support we got from the Ministry of Power and the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy Sources. Last but not least, Kenna, you've done a wonderful job today, so we hope to continue this tomorrow as well. Thanks once again. Have a great day ahead, and I hope in this pandemic times, all of you stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Such an honor it is. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. We truly have had a long and meaningful day, but with lots of thought to mull over when we head back, and yet more thoughts to carry forward in the second day of Summit tomorrow. So do join us for thread of conversations and panel discussions on extremely pertinent topics pertaining to green hydrogen. Until we meet again tomorrow, please stay safe, stay fine. Namaste.
Thank you.